All right, now from the International Board of Peace, let's also tell you that NATO has pushed back on claims by U.S. President Donald Trump saying that Greenland's sovereignty was not discussed during recent talks with the United States. Trump had suggested a framework of a future deal involving the island, but NATO's Secretary General clarified that Denmark's control over Greenland was not on the agenda. Danish officials also rejected any notion of negotiations, stressing that the territory is not for sale. The comments have sparked concern among allies, though diplomats insist Greenland's status is unlikely to change. And now for more of this, I'm joined by our senior international correspondent and anchor, Afua Hagan. Afua, Donald Trump has once again revived his ambition to acquire Greenland, but now he says he wouldn't use force. How serious should we take this? Again, is it rhetoric, is it strategy, or a genuine policy ambition? Because I know that we had a similar conversation yesterday.
And in between that time, we have had Donald Trump's speech that he gave yesterday at Davos. And in amongst boasting about America's economy, he did make it clear that even though he really wants Greenland, he is insistent that Greenland will be part of the United States for military reasons, for security reasons. He's now decided that he will not take Greenland by force. And yes, I think there will be a lot of people sort of exhaling and breathing a sigh of relief, but by no means does it mean that this is over. Yes, he said that he won't use force, he won't perhaps use the military to be able to take Greenland, but it doesn't mean that he has backed down on his position when it comes to Greenland. So again, this is about Donald Trump upping the ante, using rhetoric, and perhaps bluster to try and get what he wants. But he's realized perhaps now that that is not going to work, that acquiring another NATO ally by force, legally, politically, and diplomatically is just impossible. So this is more than talking points. This is about real rhetoric. And it also gives us an insight into Trump's worldview that perhaps he feels it. Strong arming is the way through to a certain extent, but then realizes that actually that is not going to work.
All right, Afua, how does the inauguration of the Board of Peace now affect the world order?
Well, the Board of Peace that Trump has created initially was supposed to be about stopping the war in Gaza. Now I think he wants to expand his ambitions so that the Board of Peace essentially stops wars everywhere. I think what we have to really do is look at who is on this Board of Peace. See, the UK has refused to be part of it so far because of the inclusion of perhaps the Russian president and because of Hungary's president, Viktor Orban, as well. If we look at some of the members of this Board of Peace, you have got, like I said, Viktor Orban, you have the Argentinian president as well. These are all people that are strong men, sort of like President Trump himself. He's surrounding himself with people that agree with him, essentially. What does this mean for the New World Order? What does this mean for geopolitics? Well, it depends on what the Board of Peace does. I mean, it's set out to stop wars, to bring peace the world over, and perhaps to give President Trump a prize at the end of it. He doesn't have the Nobel Peace Prize of his own violation, and we know that he is so passionate about that, furious that he doesn't have that. Perhaps his own Board of Peace will give him a prize. If you're going to have a Board of Peace, you're going to have to work with the United Nations. Trump has repeatedly criticized the United Nations, but says he will work with them in this capacity. I think really this is about what does this Board of Peace stand for? What is it really going to do? Yes, it's about perhaps forwarding the peace plan in Gaza and Israel, but how will it do that? How will it affect peace in that particular place? And also Syria and other places across the world. I think it remains to be seen how he wants to roll this out. You know, you've got this futuristic new Gaza plan that's promoted by the United States. Jared Kushner has taken a huge part in that. You have this timeline of a 20-point plan to peace and prosperity put forward, but you have to have all the actors involved in agreement of this plan for it to be effective.
All right, News Central's international correspondent in Accra, Afua Hagan, there following on the story with Trump's framework of future deal. And definitely we'll see how this turns out. A big thank you to our correspondent and anchor.